All right, guys. So my name is Tara. I have been with Archer Evolution since April of 2021. I have been a travel agent selling travel since July of 2018. My background is working with high net worth luxury clients until I branched out on my own. And now I kind of work with everybody. They will have it posted to the team chat once we are done with the training. They'll post it probably tonight or tomorrow. So if you guys need to watch the recording, it'll be in the team chats. And I will also post it to my YouTube as well. So everybody can see my screen, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so this is going to be like module 1 of 8. It used to be module 1 of 4, but I've kind of expanded on things a little bit, go a little bit more into depth on the things that you guys will need to know. How many of you are brand new? Can you give me a raised hand if you are brand new to travel, you've never sold it before? All right, so I see quite a few. Awesome. How many of you are seasoned agents but kind of need a refresher on things? Anybody seasoned in here? All right. So one thing that I found when getting into this industry is there's not a whole lot of training, right? So there's no direction on kind of where to go, what to do. And there's not really any expanded knowledge on what you basically need to know, right? Like, so that you don't sound like you have no idea what you're talking about to your clients, right? You want to sound knowledgeable, you want to sound professional, you want to sound like they should be working with you, right? So we are going to, the expectations that I have for this training is you have to be interested in booking travel, which if you guys weren't, you wouldn't be here. Be trainable, new agents and or seasoned agents, okay? If you're able to, take notes, and when I show you a little symbol, you'll take screenshots or print screens of those as well. Don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask questions. I love getting questions because sometimes, being that I am seasoned, sometimes it's hard for me to think brand new again, okay? So, and then at the end of every training, there will be a challenge. I urge you guys to participate in those, okay? They're not required, but I like to call it as homework, because that will help you put into practice what you're learning in the training. And then at the beginning of the next training, we'll go over that challenge. And if people had questions or having a hard time, we can go over why and what to do better, okay? So that is what I expect. All right, getting to know you guys though. So has anyone not traveled on an airplane before? Anybody not traveled on an airplane before? Anybody not traveled in the last 10 years on an airplane? All right, so I have some clients that I just sent off to Punta Cana, and several of them have not flown in like 10 years. So when I was telling them what they needed, you know, and what not to bring, they were like, what? You can't bring that anymore? No, you can't. So, so that's something that you want to, you know, let your clients know, because some people haven't traveled in a long time and they have no idea what they can and cannot bring on airplanes. Okay. So it has changed quite a bit. If you have traveled internationally, where did you go? You can tell me in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. Anybody gone anywhere super interesting?
Well, I've been to Switzerland, and I think I've been pretty much every country. So
perfect. So you're in the perfect job, right?
Yes.
All right. So my favorite place that I've traveled to so far was Thailand. And it was absolutely beautiful, and we may end up retiring there when we're done working. So if you guys are interested in finding new places, you definitely are in the right job, right? And then does anybody have a favorite airport that they've been to that they just absolutely loved? Denver, okay. What was it about Denver? Was it the tornado shelters? That was quite eye-opening for me when I went to Denver. I was like, oh, they have tornado shelters in the airport. That's exciting. Singapore, yes, Singapore airport. There is a waterfall in the airport if you have not been there. All right, so we all have our favorite airports. Has anybody noticed anything different about airports abroad versus airports in the States? Okay, you like smaller airports, Scott, so you like regional airports then. All right. So one thing I noticed when I was traveling to Thailand was the Hong Kong airport was so clean you could eat off the floor if you needed to. So compared to, I kind of looked at it and I looked at my husband and I'm like, wow, this airport is like super clean. I said, it really makes us people in the United States look like we are filthy people because our airports are not as clean as theirs. So, you know, if you have favorite airports or favorite things to do in an airport, share that with your clients as well, because they may not know. I had some clients that went to Universal Studios for Christmas, not this last year, but the year before last, and they live close to me, so I packed a little goodie bag with coloring books and coloring crayons and all different kinds of things, like little tiny games for their kids to play while they were on the plane, because this was going to be their first plane ride. So things to keep them distracted while on the plane. So think about things to do like that as well. All right, so here's our agenda today. We're going to learn about basic geography. Why do you need to know this? Airport codes and more. We're going to go over some of the more popular airport codes. International and regional airports. What is the difference? Passport cards or passports, what do we need? Fare classes, what is the difference between basic economy and economy? Refundable versus non-refundable airfare. Some travel lingo so you can sound like a true professional. 24-hour clock and time zones. Knowledge check and trivia time. And then our challenges at the end, okay? So take screenshots of slides when you see this little person pop up, okay? Anytime you see that on a screen, I want you guys to take a screenshot or print screen, whatever you need to do so that you guys have that information, okay? All right, so basic geography, why is that important? Clients expect travel advisors to be knowledgeable about vacation destinations, right? You don't ever want a client to tell you that they want to go somewhere and you are like, really, where would that be? I've never heard of it before. They're not going to use you if you do that. In order to successfully sell travel products, a travel advisor should be able to understand what drives tourist decisions and what geographically sets the destination apart from others, okay? There are two types of geography, traditional/physical and tourism. Traditional/physical geography is a systematic study of the universe and its features. Traditionally, geography has been associated with cartography and place names. Tourism geography studies the relationship between places, landscapes, and people, describing travel and tourism as an economic, social, and cultural activity. All right, so here's our first knowledge check. Does anybody know what country this is? I threw in some states too, just
Italy.
to have fun with this.
Italy. Italy.
Italy. Okay, so everybody says Italy. It is Italy. All right. Now you won't very often have people send you pictures of a country and say, hey, I want to go here, but you should know where it is on a map. If you don't have a globe at your desk or a world map at your desk, I highly urge you to get one, okay? Because it will help you in the long run. And it's just good to know these things so you sound educated about the world as a whole. Does anybody know what the capital or capitals of Finland are? I have Rome, St. Petersburg, Helsinki, Stockholm, and Oslo. I've got a couple people saying C. Anybody else want to take a stab at it? All right, it is C, Helsinki, okay? Again, these are some of the things that you guys should know, right? So just when you have downtime, if you're taking the kids to a soccer game, right, or you're going to soccer practice, make yourself some flashcards. We all know we sit on the sidelines waiting for their practice to be over. Why not be educating ourselves at the same time so that we can be educated professionals for our clients, okay? All right, codes. What kinds are there? There's rail stations. There's a total of 816 stations with 3 digits. Bus stations, 235 stations with 2 digits and numbers. Airport codes, 8,965 international domestic airports. They have three letters. All right. Ferry ports, 64 ports with 2 digits. All right, so this one is going to be one that you are going to want to screenshot. So IATA airport codes are decided on by the International Air Transport Association and are used on plane tickets, boarding passes, passes, and baggage labels. IATA codes are 3-letter codes used by a non-governmental trade organization to efficiently identify airports, trains, and bus stations. The International Air Transport Association has assigned each airline a 2-letter code and each airport a 3-letter code. The reason why these codes are assigned is so that these codes can be used for identification in documents and communication systems. And because of these codes, communication in the aviation industry is much faster. So I've got some resources that are going to pop up at the bottom. Don't worry if you don't catch these, because I'm going to give them to you at the end as well, okay? And I will put them in the chat so everybody can just copy them that way. So I'll give you a few moments to screenshot this one. Anybody have any questions so far? All right. So here we go. AA, does anybody know what airline code that is? No?
American.
Awesome. Good job. All right. So American. What about UA?
United Airlines.
United Airlines.
United Airlines. Good job. What about WN?
Western?
No, not Western. Anybody else want to take a stab at it? It is Southwest Airlines.
Wow.
So when you put in your itineraries, you put AA 1402, it would be WN, or you could put SW, but WN and then the airport or the flight number. What about DL?
Delta.
Delta, yep, awesome. AC?
Alaska?
Nope, not Alaska.
Air Canada.
Air Canada.
Ah,
All right, what about AF?
Air France.
Air France, yep. QF?
Quantum.
Quater or quad
Quanta.
something.
Qantas Airways. Good job, guys. KL.
KLM?
KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. What about AY? All right, no guesses on that one. Finnair is AY. Finnair. What about BA?
British Airways.
Yes, British Airways. JL?
Japan Airlines.
Japan.
Japan Airlines. What about TN?
Tennessee Airlines.
Air Tahiti.
Hmm.
And then B6. No guesses?
JetBlue.
JetBlue. It's one of my favorites because it doesn't make any sense. So, but yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and screenshot these are just some of them. But, again, flashcards while you're, waiting in line to get your coffee or something, right? Yeah, Southwest doesn't make any sense either with WN, but these are just things that you could be practicing it when you have spare time. Ladies, if you're cooking dinner, gentlemen, if you're cooking dinner, be doing things that can help you in your business, okay? All right, so if everybody's screenshotted. So this one, we're going to guess the airport code again, just like we did with the airlines. So does anybody have any idea what AUH is? It could be an international airport or domestic. It is going to be Abu Dhabi International Airport.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi, yeah.
Abu Dhabi, yep. And so there are going to be some that are more popular than others, but you still should know, right? Because when you're putting in your searches, this is what it asks you, right? So ANC. I'll give you a hint. This one's stateside.
Anchorage.
Yes, Anchorage. What about BWI? Again, stateside.
Baltimore.
Awesome. BKK. This one is international.
Bangkok.
Yes, Bangkok. What about BOS? We're back stateside.
Boston.
Boston.
That's an
Boston.
easy one, right? But
Yes.
keep in mind, they're not always going to make sense. So you really have to think about them. Like Abu Dhabi, right? Where did the H come from? So they're not always going to make sense, but a lot of times they will. CMN. CMN. It's international.
Is that Morocco?
It is not, well, it is Morocco,
Oh.
but it's Casablanca. So again,
Interesting. Okay.
it doesn't make any sense, right? There's no
Yep.
rhyme or reason to the CMN, but that's what it is. Obviously this one's backwards. CNX is going to be the Chiang Mai International Airport. What about DFW?
Dallas, Fort Worth.
Dallas, Fort Worth.
We all know that.
Honolulu.
Honolulu. Yes,
Nice.
we got Dallas, Fort Worth, and Honolulu. SFO.
San Francisco.
San Francisco, yes. PDX.
Portland.
Portland.
Portland. CZM.
Cozumel.
Yes, Cozumel.
Nice.
TBR.
Puerto Rico.
No. Anybody else want to take a stab?
Puerto Vallarta, however you say that.
Puerto
Yeah.
Vallarta. Yep. SJC.
San
San
Jose.
Jose.
San Jose, California. Now, these are a couple that I want you to keep close eye on, okay? Because they're very similar. They're just one letter off from each other. So there's going to be 4 of them that you want to keep an eye on because you don't want to confuse them, all right? So one of them is San Jose, California. LIH.
Lihu.
Yes. It's in the Kauai, Hawaii, okay? MBJ. If any of you
Jamaica.
sell Jamaica, you better know this.
Jamaica.
Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Montego Bay, Jamaica, yes. So here's one of those other ones again, SJU.
San Juan.
Puerto Rico.
San Jose, Puerto Rico. SJO.
Costa Rica.
San Jose, Costa Rica.
Mm.
So I'll go
Cool.
back in case anybody wants to screenshot those. But as you can see, there are
Yes.
some that are just one letter off from each other. So you don't want to confuse those because you don't want to put it in SJC and send them to California when really they wanted to go to SJO in Costa Rica. All right. So what's the difference between international and regional airports? Okay. International airports has customs and border control facilities, that enable the passengers to travel between countries. Regional airports serve traffic within a relatively small or lightly populated geographical area. Okay, so that's the difference between an international and a regional. Basically, international has border and customs, regional does not. Also, it's a spelling error. I didn't catch it. I am so sorry, Joy. International travel must have passports, okay? Nobody can get on a plane and go international travel without a passport. So if your client calls you and says, hey, I want to go to Paris, but I don't have a passport, you're not going to book the trip for them. They're not even qualified at this point because they don't have the necessary documents, right? So you want to make sure that they understand how long a passport takes to get and that they will have to have one, because you are responsible for informing the client of what the requirements are for that country or for that destination, but you are not responsible for them getting it. So if they don't get it in time, that's on them, and they're not going to get refunds just because they didn't get their passport in time, okay? So anybody else want to screenshot this one? I'm going to go ahead and change it. All right, so passport card or passport. Does anybody know what the difference is?
Yeah, one is for local travel, like between Mexico and Canada. The other one is for international travel. And now, I guess, starting February 1st, you need to have a passport card to even fly domestically.
Yeah, it's called the the Real ID actually starts, they pushed it out. It was supposed to be this year in May, but the Real ID, they changed now to next year. So they pushed it out another year. Yes, passports do have to be valid for 6 months after return from the trip, okay? So you have to have 6 months of validity after the trip is over on your passport. If somebody doesn't have that, you need to inform them that they need that. Yes, the passport card you can also use for cruises, okay? So passport card is not to be used for international travel by air. It can be used in the US borders and driving to Canada and Mexico. It is cheaper for the customer. So a lot of times you'll see this with customers. They'll be like, well, the passport card's so much cheaper, so I'm just going to get that. No, no, no. It doesn't work for international flight, okay? It has to be the passport. So passports can be used globally. They may still require a visa for travel, and that's information coming in a future module, but it is considerably more expensive than the passport card, okay? So not only do you need to inform your client if they need a passport, but whether or not they need a visa for travel as well, okay? And you can find that on the government websites. So go ahead and take your screenshots. All right, fare classes. What is the difference between basic economy and economy? So you guys, this is really important because a lot of people will select, do islands need a passport? Christina, what do you mean, do islands need a passport? And no questions are dumb. The only dumb questions are the ones that aren't asked. So like if you're going to the Hawaiian Islands, you don't need a passport. If you're going to Bahama or Jamaica, you need a passport.
Oh no, you can't choose your seats on basic economy.
Correct. So this is really important because I've had people ask me about this. They'll be like, oh, basic economy is so much cheaper. If you have a family that's traveling together, basic economy, I don't care if it's cheaper, is not the way to go. No, Puerto Rico is a US territory, so you do not need a passport to go to Puerto Rico. So basic economy, if you have a family traveling together, seat selection cannot be done, okay? You cannot select your seats. It is cheaper cost. Usually only a personal item is allowed, no carry-on luggage is included. So carry-ons are at an additional cost, and you can't have a full-size carry-on. You also you get no refunds and no flight changes. So let's say grandma gets sick, I don't know, 24 hours prior to departure. Guess what? Too bad, so sad. If you booked basic economy, your money is gone. There is no credit. Okay, so basic economy is like the bare bones. It basically says you have a seat in this plane. Other than that, you get no extra amenities with it. So you are in the last boarding group, which means you're probably going to get a middle seat. And it's allowed to upgrade the ticket based on airline status. Some airlines do allow upgrades, but most of them do not. Even if you have travel insurance, Jody, it is non-refundable. Like I said, your butt in the seat, that's it. So it's really important to educate your clients on this, because the last thing you want is to book basic economy and then them come back and say, oh, hey, my mom's in the hospital, I can't go on this trip. Too bad, so sad, you're out $500 for your flight ticket, okay? Economy or main cabin is going to be a little bit more expensive. You do get a personal item that fits underneath your seat. It usually includes 1 carry-on bag per passenger. You're typically in boarding groups 3 through 5 rather than 8 or 7 or 8. You usually do get to choose your preferred seat included with your cost. So instead of having to pay, obviously if you want to sit in like, main cabin extra and have 6 inches extra of leg room, those are still going to be an additional cost, but just a standard seat is not going to be an additional cost for you to select that ahead of time. And then the refund is available on qualifying tickets. So there is economy refundable, and then there's economy non-refundable. So you want to make sure that you're reading the terms of your airfare to understand if this is going to be a refundable ticket or a non-refundable ticket. And I will show you guys in a later module where to find the terms for your fare class that you're in. And then this one is also available for upgrades based on your airline status. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on any of these?
Would a non-refundable economy be covered on travel protection?
Yes, because you usually can get a credit on those, credit to fly within the next 12 months. So it would be, covered in that instance. But also, guys, with travel insurance, just a word to the wise, don't ever tell your client, yes, this is possible. No, this is possible. If you're using our provider Tinleg, have them call Tinleg and ask all the questions, because you never want to tell your client something that's not included or something that is included and it ends up not being included. So really, read those documents are awful to read, but read them back and forth, sideways, whatever, because you don't want to end up telling your client something is refundable if it's not. Joy, you need to go back one slide. That one? All right, guys, still have quite a few. I know I'm going to
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so we still have another half hour, but I may go over just to warn you guys. So seat assignments. This is really important to tell your clients. Seat assignments are a request and they can be changed by the airline up until the time of departure. So let's say my client preferred to pay for a seat that has the 6 inches extra of legroom, right? But the airline decides that they're going to give that seat to somebody else for some reason unknown to us. Your client will be refunded if they paid extra for that seat. Okay, but keep in mind, seat assignments are just a request. They're never guaranteed. So don't ever tell your client that that's the case, because if they get to the airline and the airline has moved them to a different seat for some reason, guess what? They're going to be calling you saying, you told me my seat was assigned already. Okay. Christina, are you in the chats? Either Team Infinity, Beach Bosses, Jet Setting SWAT, any of those? Okay, Beach Bosses, it'll be posted in the Beach Bosses, the recording, okay? All right, so guys, moving on. Refundable tickets versus non-refundable. Non-refundable fare pros and cons, okay? And then refundable fare pros and cons. So non-refundable is a lower upfront cost, okay? And if a client cancels his ticket, they usually can retain a credit for future use on the same airline for up to 1 year. Clients can cancel and void within 24 hours of the ticket being issued. So even on a non-refundable, not a basic economy, okay? Basic economy, one and done. But if they have a non-refundable economy ticket, usually you can cancel and void it within 24 hours of the ticket being issued. So why is this important? Let's say for some reason you misunderstood your client, okay? And you spelled their name wrong. There's 1 letter off, 2 letters off. You can cancel and rebook within 24 hours without any penalties. Now, they may be subject to rates that have changed, but it's always good to know that you can cancel that within 24 hours of the ticket, okay, being purchased. You can go ahead and cancel, and they will get their refund. So pros of a refundable ticket: there are usually no change fees for making changes after the ticket has been issued, but the fare difference may apply. So let's say they cancel, they can make a change. They're not going to pay any change fees, but let's say the fare's gone up $100, they are going to pay that fare difference. If the flight is canceled, to a refund for the ticket cost goes back to the form of payment used for the purchase. And then refundable fares generally earn redeemable miles and elite qualifying miles. All right. So the cons to a non-refundable ticket: change fees can be $200 per ticket or higher. And one thing about that is a lot of during the pandemic, or right after the pandemic, a lot of airlines said, I'm not going to charge change fees, right? But as we know, as things go back to what we call normal, they are going to put those change fees back on. So you want to be aware of that. Some non-refundable airfares do not allow a credit. So if the flight is canceled, all value is lost. All right. And then for the refundables, upfront costs will be much higher in most cases than non-refundable fares, and they may not meet requirements of budget due to the higher cost. Okay, so I did look it up for a client that I have going to Italy, and the difference in the cost of a non-refundable versus a refundable airfare was about $1,500. So you don't make commission on them. You can have them do them on their own, or you can charge a service fee. Keep in mind that if you charge your service fee right, then it's going to be higher than what the published fare is. So what I usually do is I go through Centrav. Centrav, we do make 50% of the paid out commission. Okay. What I like about Centrav is it's an air consolidator. What that means is they have consolidator fares, which are typically lower than the published rates. So you can still mark it up and still be lower than the published rate. All right. So it's Centrav. .com. All right.
Marnie's doing a training on that today.
Yeah, I saw that. So yeah, centrav.com. I really like it a lot. They're very easy to work with. They're really good about answering questions. So keep that in mind, that is an option if you want to sell air and make commission on it.
And so you can make commission on that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they have published fares, which are non-commissionable. Then they have commissionable fares, and then they have consolidator fares, which is something that where you can add a service fee on. It tells you what the markup limit is. And if you go over that markup limit, then it'll show to the client that you're charging a service fee. But if you don't go above that markup limit, then the client never sees that.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And they also, what's really cool about them to you guys is they have a payment link that you can send to the client directly. You would still need to get a credit card authorization form for the charge, but you can send it to the client directly if the client is one of those people that was like, I don't feel comfortable giving you my credit card number, right? She does record those. Yes, Alexandra, she does. All right. Any questions about refundable or non-refundable tickets? All right, moving on. All right, so here's some travel lingo, guys. Sorry, I have my monitors. I have 3 monitors and I have them all spaced out wrong, and so my mouse is going everywhere. So TSA stands for Transportation Security Administration. All right, they're the ones that do our security checkpoints. PNR is a passenger name record or record locator. So anybody books through VAX, you're not going to give them the VAX confirmation number for them to go select their seats or add their luggage. You're going to give them the PNR. It's different where it's located on the VAX confirmation, okay? So record locator is always what you're going to give them if they need access to the airfare, to choose a seat, purchase luggage, all of that stuff. PAX stands for passenger. ARC is Airline Reporting Corporation. Fare base, it's the base fare that gives you seat location, cost, and additional benefits. If you have two legs of a trip, segment A, it's called a leg of an air itinerary, and segment B, okay? So let's say we're going, I had clients go from Phoenix to Newark, Newark to Punta Cana. So Phoenix to Newark is segment A, Newark to Punta Cana is segment B. So two different legs. RT stands for round trip. OW stands for one way. Multi stands for multi-destination. And then MCT stands for minimum connection time. Minimum connection time is super, super important for you to educate yourself on. Charlotte Airport is one that they do insane connection times on. So American Airlines just got approved to do a 35-minute minimum connection time for domestic. So what that means is your client has 35 minutes from the time the plane lands to the next time another plane takes off. Okay, so that's 30 minutes to deboard, to make it to your next gate, and to get on that flight. It's a really, really tight connection, okay? Typically, you want to have 2 hours. You can have an hour, but I recommend 2 for domestic in between your 2 flights. International, you want at least 3 hours or more. And then if you have, inclement weather, snow, sleet, high winds, certain airports like LAX, Miami, you're going to want to add on additional minimum connection time for your clients, because LAX and Miami are huge airports and they're going to take time to get from one gate to the next. Okay. Hub, airport that serves a main point of transfer for passengers. Code share, it's when 2 or more airlines agree to use the same plane and one will market it. So it says operated by. PFC is a passenger facility charge, or also called carpet tax. Direct flight, it's not a nonstop, okay? If somebody's telling you they want a direct flight, it's not a nonstop. It can stop over, but there's no unloading, no plane change. Nonstop plane makes no stops until the destination. Layover 4 hours or less domestically, or 24 hours or less on international flights. And then thoroughfare, fare to a destination reached. I'm sorry, guys. By traveling through a gateway city, it could be combined with any of the fare types listed above and is used to obtain a lower price when you are not simply flying from point A to point B, but you are rather connecting through the other points to get to your destination. There is no passenger facility charges typically on the thoroughfares. All right, any questions? I know that was a lot of information. All right, Brianna, the difference between Centrav and VAX adding a fee is Centrav, unless you're purchasing a published fare, the fee will not show to the client. If you're doing a commission-based fare, there shows no extra fee to the client. If you're doing a consolidator fare, unless you go above the markup limit, there's no, it doesn't show to the client that you're charging any fees. It just shows the one main charge. That's the difference between the two. Where VAX, you'll always, when you add on the fees, they're always gonna see that as a separate, item, line item. Did that answer your question? All right. This is a screenshot. Go ahead and screenshot. And if no questions, we are going to move on. All right, 24-hour time clock and time zones. GMT is Greenwich Mean Time, or UTC Universal Time. So Greenwich Mean Time is the clock time at the prime meridian, so 0° longitude in Greenwich, England. Here the word mean means average. It refers to the fact that noon GMT is the moment on average each year when the sun is at its highest point in the sky. at the Greenwich Meridian, okay? So if you ever see GMT or UTC, now you know what that means. 24 time zones, if each time zone were 1 hour apart, that would be 24 in the world. However, the International Dateline, the IDL, creates 3 more. Also, several time zones are only 30 or 45 minutes apart, increasing the total number of standard time zones even further. During daylight savings time, DST, the time zone name and time changes. The words daylight or summer are then usually included in the name, and the local time is usually set forward 1 hour. Now, I don't know if you guys have been watching the news, but they're talking about getting rid of daylight savings time. For example, California used Pacific Daylight Time, which is what California is currently in now, during the DST period with a UTC offset of UTC-7, but Pacific Standard Time with an offset of UTC-8 during the rest of the year. All right, so again, UTC, we talked about before, right? It's universal time. So it's telling you that during Pacific Daylight Time, it's going to be 7 hours from universal time and 8 hours the rest of the year. Everybody following me, or did I lose some people? All right, 24-hour clock. So if you were in the military, you know, different clocks, right? The 24-hour clock, often referred to in the United States and some other countries as military time, is the convention of timekeeping in which the day runs from midnight to midnight and is divided into 24 hours. This is indicated in the hours passed since midnight, from 0 to 23. All right. So if you're leaving at 1900 hours, you're leaving at 7 p.m., right? These are some things that you should know because it's going to come into play when you do international travel. All right, so why is this information needed? Travel is booked based off the 24-hour time clock. From cars to hotel stays, the 24-hour clock is used to determine costs. As a travel agent, it is your responsibility to know the clock well enough to advise if they will need to book an extra day. Depending on the time zone your passengers are traveling to, you may need to book the transportation a day or two ahead or an overnight stay. This always can help you in your acquisition of additional commissions, okay? So, like, for example, if you're flying to Thailand from the West Coast, you're going to arrive 2 days later. So the last thing you want to do is book your client for the next day for their hotel when they're not arriving till 2 days later. Now they've paid for 2 days on the hotel that they didn't need. Catch my drift? All right, no questions? There's no dumb questions, guys, only the ones that aren't asked. So, like I said, example, if you want to stay before a cruise, when will you need to get the passenger there in time to do any additional activities? For those of you that sell cruises, do you recommend that they get there the day before? Yes, yes, super important, right? Because the last thing you want is an airline delay and then they don't arrive in time to get on their cruise and the ship leaves without them. All right, so this is another screenshot one. Go ahead and take your screenshots. All right, so pop quiz, guys. How many time zones are on Earth? Any guesses?
24.
Close. Some of you weren't listening to the last conversation on time zones.
Oh, they added some. Oh, okay.
27. 27. What country is this? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Yep, Erica.
Is it Chile?
It is. What is this airport code?
Cancun?
Yes. Name one difference between basic economy and economy.
Refundable and non-refundable.
Yes. Anybody else?
You don't get to pick your seat.
Seat selection. Okay. Anybody else?
Groups 3 to 5 versus 8.
Yep. Kim says bags. Yep. Luggage. So seat selection is one. It is included on one and not on the other. Name one pro of a non-refundable ticket.
Cheaper.
Okay, cheaper. All right. Lower upfront cost. All right. So yes, you can get credits, you can cancel within in 24 hours. There's a lot of different pros to it. So always position it what's in the best interest of your client. Okay. Remember, it's not about our commission. I mean, it is. Obviously, we all want to make money, but your responsibility is to do what's in the best interest of your client. So here's some of our upcoming modules. So I have a second training tonight. It's going to be the same training that we did today. And then next Wednesday, we'll do module 1.5, which is going to be more about geography, air, etc. The following week, we'll do module 2, which is accommodations. And then there might be module 2.5, which is more accommodations. We'll go over how to book those, everything. Module 3, flights, how to book and deeper dive into flights. Module 4, cars and land transportation, how to book. Module 5 is to be determined. Like I said, I'm going to try and break these up more than I did the first time around. So if you guys have access to the Team Infinity Beach Bosses website, you know that we have these in the training section, advanced training. Yep, absolutely. So I will try and break these down. I believe we're going to go to module 8. So this is probably going to, yep, that'll be in next week's, the TSA and customs and all that stuff. So the module tonight is the same module we just did. Okay. It's just I'm doing 2 different times so everybody can attend. I don't want anybody to miss out because of the time, only choosing one time. Oh, so there's the pop quiz. And then don't leave quite yet. You got the challenge you got to do. All right. All right. So hopefully anybody needs a screenshot of this, they can take it. All right. Modules. Here's your challenge. Okay. So I want everybody to practice making this booking. So passenger Lucy and Desi want to travel from MSP. So you need to find out what MSP is, to Cancun, right? Because we know CUN is Cancun. They want a direct flight if possible. Remember the term direct flight, and want to stay in an all-inclusive. If able to find a direct flight, what is the best pricing you found? And they don't want a non-refundable ticket, okay? Learn 10 new airport codes a week, including all in your state, local area. So you can start out with domestic, learn all the domestic, and then move to international. Also, utilize the acronyms and daily notes and memorize all travel lingo. There is a Wordle, it's similar to Wordle app, but it's for travel. So that's another thing to practice as well. Thank you, Lindsay. Minneapolis, St. Paul is MSP. So go ahead and take your screenshots of this, and then we'll go over it next week, and we'll kind of walk through it, see if anybody had any questions, concerns. I may pick on somebody to give me 10 new airport codes that they've learned. Again, the travel lingo, when you're writing your notes, jotting your notes down with clients, passenger is PAX. Start using things like that. The more you use the things in your day-to-day, the quicker you will learn that. All right. So any questions?
Can you go back to the one before the pop quiz? Because that's the slide I missed. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions?
Can you go back one more before this one too, please?
Yeah, no problem. All right, so I'm going to go back one more.
Hey, Tara, are you going to put this online?
The
The reason I'm asking is none of my screenshots saved.
Usually I don't put the PowerPoint out there. But I can, I just need to make sure I make some tweaks to it, like spelling errors and stuff like that, and then I can send it out.
I'm not worried about
I-
spelling errors. You could just send it directly to me and I'll do it if you want.
Oh, no, it's okay. I could do it. So any other screenshots we need to go back to? Or does everybody have them? All right. One back from the travel lingo, Joy?
Yes, please.
There you go. All right, so like I said, we'll go deeper dive into all of these. I'll walk you through some bookings, teach you guys how to do some things. I know there's a lot to learn in this industry, and it's very overwhelming when you come in and you've had absolutely no knowledge of it before. I used to train classes at my previous job of travel agents first coming in, so that's where a lot of my knowledge comes from. Like I said, we will go over these things. So I told you I would give you the links. And there's the links. And then I'll also put them in the chat box. So give me just 1 second and I'll put them in the chat box. All right, so here we go. I think they all came through. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer. And we can go ahead and finish up on questions.